So I'm sharing this session with Dr. Murthy from Antrix, and we have two other delegates who would be speaking on the similar topics which we'll be bringing in. And please feel free to be engaged in the discussions, ask questions. That's what we want rather than just a preaching kind of a session. So let me introduce myself. My name is Satish Rath. I'm a medical doctor by profession, but I'm also PhD board member from Biomedical Informatics. Have been worked with Phyllis Research, Intel Research. Currently I'm at Arise Labs, which is a joint venture between Belgian University, IMEC and Wipro. And I'll be taking you through what are the needs and why we have found out mobile health to be of importance in emerging markets. So this is not something which is new to most of you. If you are interested in telemedicine and you come to Telemedicine Society of India, the key point I want to say is definitely chronic disease burden is the big thing which is ailing India. And what is chronic disease, if you talk about a health economist, which is a much bigger role which is going to play in deciding where funding are going to go. Chronic diseases mean these people are going to stay diseased till they die. They are going to eat up a lot of resources, and when we talk about resources in India, we are even sometimes lower than the sub-Saharan country, what we learned earlier in the morning. So it's just not the chronic disease as a disease per se as a problem in India, but it has increased the doctor to patient population problem, what has been already bad in India, to much more larger fold. And now with the emergence of middle class, where people have started demanding healthcare, what we also learned in the morning, if I keep those strings together. So when a country is growing at 8% of GDP or 9% of GDP, the middle class is growing at a very faster pace, they start demanding healthcare. So we are talking at a government level about right to health, which is yet to happen in India. So there is a big class which is affording, wants quality healthcare. There is already an ailing system which is ailing for infrastructure in terms of delivery because we don't have enough doctors. To add to it, we have the chronic disease, where the face time of the doctors are needed more because these people are going to consume the resources of healthcare more and more. For this, the traditional healthcare, which has been focused on tertiary care, late diagnosis, complication management, has to shift to the home. And this has been due to many of the reasons, because most of the patents of the IPs or solutions came out of Western world, where the healthcare was a vertical focus, which was inside the hospital. So most of the diagnostic equipments or the laboratory equipments or the CT scans or the X-rays or the MRIs, we see inside the hospital because that is the costliest bed, even far, far, far costlier than your most luxurious resort in the world. So we want to get money out of it because the insurers or the payers or the providers are investing very heavily on that side. The focus on healthcare in developed market has been right focused. It has been richly focused on the right side of the healthcare. Whereas what at Intel the talk happened, where if you have to philanthropy start thinking is we have to start shifting left. Because if you are facing a chronic disease issue or an epidemic, which can be solved only with prevention, and with prevention with 10% of the cost, we can solve the issue compared to complication monitoring, which is 80 to 90% of the cost, then we are talking about a new paradigm shift in healthcare, which is home healthcare. But to do this, is it free of challenges? It is just a straightforward thing, because we talk about connecting a doctor to a patient. We have been seeing this throughout the day. We will see it tomorrow. You visit the stalls. I would say, there are very encouraging steps when we can see the doctor from a remote area. A rural patient can get access to a doctor who is sitting in the urban area. That is good. A radiology report which can be read, across the geographies. That is still very good. But what we are talking about is a completely different problem. We are talking about if my patient has got diabetes, if my patient has got obesity, if my patient has got blood pressure, I want to see her continuous monitoring of data, which is prevention. Now, if I have to go for preventive healthcare, I just cannot send patients, send doctors to their home continuously, which is impossible. And I can do that only with technology. So we are talking about emergence of point of care solutions, where it is a system or a solution which is user-centric, which is around the person, which is giving the person or the subject or the patient an actionable information so that the person can act on it. And after this, he can get whatever required information this person is looking for. Mostly maybe for a diabetic management or for obesity management or for a hypertension management, we are not looking for a real-time video consultation. Maybe that is not the solution for 80% of the cases. But we should not make video consultation just a bottleneck so that we cannot have chronic disease management at remote areas. We can still have that, but we need a proper, consolidated, comprehensive approach rather than a piecemeal approach. So, why then we feel is mobile healthcare is important for economies like India, SAARC, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Southeast Asia, and currently we are talking about APAC, Australia also. We need the care when it is at the time it is needed, and we know with our infrastructural constraint we just cannot be there. As we know, at the time of need, as we talk about doctors are not there, it just resources are also assumed they are not there. Inside your home, when you need the doctor the most, obviously you cannot have a nurse or a doctor present inside the home when you need them. But most important thing, I think that was a very important thing which was brought up early in the morning, is like the telehealth or telecare which grew in a different way in US and Europe, where very high margins were charged. We cannot expect, because we are used to use one of the cheapest call rates in India, one of the cheapest data plans in India. In South Korea, maybe we have very good bandwidth, but the data plans also come at that rate. But if you talk about India, we have one of the highest mobile penetrations, but at one of the cheapest of the rates. So we are talking about disruptive business models also, where healthcare is provided as a value-added services by the mobile phone carriers. So we are talking about where hospital can be moved to home, but not in an intimidating fashion. A hospital can move to home, I can put an X-ray machine or an ECG machine which is quite intimidating to a patient, then I have not solved the purpose. But I'm talking about continuously monitoring the person at a cost which is very usable, as well as at a cost which is highly affordable. Now, I will be handing out to you after this presentation one such example of ECG monitoring or accelerometer monitoring, which is as usable as a necklace. Maybe I can right away do that. And please don't confuse it as a medical gadget. It is, I mean this to be an ECG necklace. This can be worn, this can be inside your garments, this can be on your garments, the way you want to put it. The next version we have is, it's just a patch. This is wireless. This collects your ECG data. This collects your SpO2, which is very vital for medical conditions. This collects your accelerometer data, so that how far you have walked, how much of energy or calorie you have burned, this can tell you. As well as this can derive your respiration rate, whether you had a fits or not. And this has got multiple other applications. This has got a skin impedance monitor, so that you can know what is your total body water content. This is very useful for congestive heart failures. Now, medical equipment has to turn to something disruptive like this. If they can pass this sensor to all of you, you can have a look and feel this is a working system. And if you are interested to see this working, I can show you this working. This runs for battery for 7 days. And all we expect is, if my mother is using it, I can have her wear this, and there is a mobile gateway. Now, as the data comes in, how the data comes into the healthcare provider, which is the next bigger word, is the medical gateway. Unless the data which is standardized and interoperable, we cannot have any use of it. We can build very closed systems, very rugged systems, but unless it is simple, open, interoperable standard, it is not going to scale in a country like India. Now, this is going to talk to your mobile phone as a gateway. Your mobile phone is going to transfer this data to your healthcare provider, wherever your healthcare provider is. Is it in Manipal Hospital or Apollo Hospital or to your GP? And then the bigger work comes where Telemedicine Society of India can play a bigger role is providing standardization for a PHR, what we call as personal health record. What has happened also good is we keep on blaming, that we didn't adopt IT much faster way. I think it was the best boon for India not to have adopted healthcare IT like US adopted. Because we don't have a very big legacy system of EMR. Now the time is golden for Telemedicine Society to put standards for PHR, the next generation personal health record systems, where the person's health data can be owned by person. We have a revolutionary program running on called UID, where every person who has got an UID, you can see in the next generation that every person who is holding a UID is also holding their personal health record along with them. As long they are moving, they know when they got birth, when they got vaccinations, what are the ailments they had, and it's all cloud-based PHR, which is standard developed by TSI, then anyone can use it, and this is really scalable. So we are really talking about something which is practical and not something which is rocket science. So these are the game-changing ideas which needs to be developed, and this cannot be done by a firm which makes sensors. This cannot be made by a firm which is just doing research on interoperability standard. This cannot be just made by an IT firm which makes PHR. This cannot be alone made by a hospital. This cannot be alone made by government. Everyone has to come and build in a consensus. We don't have enough doctors, but our demands are abnormally high. We need to develop that consensus for standardization of healthcare, which is high time for India to have this problem solved. And whenever I come from many of the MNC backgrounds as well as currently I'm working one of the MNCs, and does it make money? Whenever you talk to a private firm, does it make money? Does it give you money? If you talk to a doctor, okay, why at all I should use it? The rough estimation, I myself being a doctor, I know is a doctor will use it only if it saves time for him and if it earns money for him. If he can see much more patients at the same time he can earn much more money. So all these questions were answered by one of the landmark study by McKinsey in last year. It just estimates mobile health market to be roughly around $40 billion size, and it was not done again in a very, very frugal way. It was done which are the components which were where the examples were taken were advisor doctor, drug delivery, health watch, and people were ready to pay twice their mobile subscription bills for their healthcare delivery. So there is definitely money in this scheme. Till date, I think 2011 marked in February and in March two very good papers from BMJ as well as from Germany. Germany has been spearheading research on chronic disease management, where German government have already given go ahead is you have to manage congestive cardiac failure from home and not from office. This was a very good thing which came into the world of knowledge, because this improves patient's experience, this frees the high resource intensive hospitals, and this is less burden to the payers. Nothing as comprehensive has been done something like that. And based on this chronic disease management program, what I'm doing research currently now is, so do those things, whatever recommendation that report gave, these things are applying to India. And answers are something like this. If the program size is big, your program is going to be successful. And if you're talking about large numbers, there is no other country than large numbers in India. We are already 1.2 billion size. It has to be simplicity in design, easy interface. I think we have learned it from Nokia's of the world, Micromax of the world, is that, okay, we are very good in making very usable, intuitive UIs. And it has to be interoperable so that this system is scalable, and we are talking about device communication framework or Continua kind of things. And are there important programs as examples which have already started taking place in India? Yes, there are good examples like ICICI Diabetes Insurance, which are still analog, 90%, 10% digital. But these kind of things can really get improved as things go on. So these are the three themes we work as Wipro Center of Excellence, which is our lab. Devices have become very small, as you are seeing. I don't know where is the ECG necklace. As you are seeing, most of the devices are wearable and small and wireless. But for these devices to act, different devices, transmit different communication protocols. So we have something what is called as medical gateway. You can run the software on a mobile or a tablet or a custom-made hardware, and this will transmit your data, be it from a proprietary device, be it from an open device or a continue-enabled device, to your PHR. We do manage health record systems. We are the independent test lab for Microsoft Health Vault. We don't recommend that you have to go with Microsoft Health Vault. If you have to run your private cloud on PHR, you can run the same. And then we have analytics running on the backend. So this is the picture. I have few brochures with me. I will share with you, people who are interested, they can, get back to us. So this is the gateway, which is 1 year old. We have the recent generation which runs on tablets and PCs. So we are talking about a solution which is the future of clinic, or the future clinic I call it. So we have different sensors which are smaller, which can be used in home. They can connect to something as a medical gateway which can sit in a mobile phone. Then the display device can be your tablet, your TV, your mobile phone. Your PHR is getting stored in cloud, and your hospital is using it through a web application. So we are talking about a business model also which is less CapEx and more of OpEx. A few words about Arise. So this is the lab which we are very proud of. We just launched it 3 months ago. This is joint venture between IMEC. So the ECG necklace, whoever is having it, is actually one of the work of the whole center, which is the only university in the world which runs a fabrication industry by itself. So we know if we have to make sensors which are really needed for India for chronic disease management, they have to be really cheap. And we have to manufacture them in a semiconductor way, the way you see in the Nokias or the Samsungs or the iPhones. They have to be really, the medical electronics inside this really has to hit the envelope of innovation. So we make the sensors, and we chose IMEC for that, and they are one of the largest R&D units for they've got their healthcare program on body area network, and we are participating for them. And Wipro, we are a big conglomerate, one of the largest R&D houses, independent R&D houses for IT in India, and we have a big focus on healthcare, on medical devices, on PHRs and IT applications. So this becomes a very nice marriage for our innovations. So this is something what as a solution we have, and we don't sell this solution as our product. Any of the hospitals or the OEMs or any of the partners, this is through collaboration, so you can make it your own solution. So we have the ECG necklace, which is pretty unique. And then we have a mobile integration. Then you have your decision support and care being given at the last end. So, end of it, I wanted all of us, I have learned this much after working, let's say 7 to 10 years in mobile health and e-health, is if this is to really penetrate to the needies in a unique country like India, of 1.2 billion population, where we are used to using mobile phone at the cheapest call rates and the data rates, then innovation has to happen at all spheres, not only at one sphere. So the sensing or the medical equipment has to be really usable and wearable. We need a medical hub so that this medical data which is coming out from this can be easily transferred, and there is a bigger role of Continua playing in there. We are Continua compliant, and there is a big Continua workshop happening at the last day of the conference. A big role can be played by the telecommunication service providers like the Vodafones or the Airtels or the Aircels or the Uninor, because they are the primary bandwidth providers, and they can play a much bigger role in this, providing healthcare as a mobile value-added services. We heard Vishal from Cisco talking about Walmart is taking healthcare in a retail way, and they are going to be the largest healthcare provider in US. Whereas we might see the mobile carriers to be one of the largest leverage or donors for India for healthcare provider. Much more important, I think, from people like TSI or the Medical Council of India or the community of doctors, we would like to know is whenever a technology firm wants to make a mobile health solution or a telehealth solution, they always struggle for the protocols. And we need to come, because this is high time, this would have been done yesterday. What is the protocol for diabetes management in India? What is the protocol for hypertension management in India? What is the protocol for asthma management in India? This is high time ICMR and MCI would have come. So this is something we are pushing from the Telemedicine Society India envelope, that this would really facilitate the technology firms who want to make mobile health in a very big way. And this would be absolutely, absolutely important. And cloud-based PHR is the thing which I said earlier is because, we didn't have something like US is the legacy system of so many EMRs where it is struggling now how to interconnect the EMRs with each other. Cloud-based PHR is something which is the need of India, where every person who is having a UID is also having their own PHR. And everywhere, wherever we have talked about only one thing. So what are the regulations? Either an FDA equivalent in India, either a TSI equivalent in India, and the answer is nobody has got any answer. If I treat a person over telemedicine and telehealth and something happens to the person, what are the guidelines, what are the regulations? And we have not done that. So that regulation, I think TSI is the body who can push it. And if the working committee can come out with the regulation, how telehealth or mobile health should be practiced, this would be a big boost for telehealth or mobile health to get into. So this much I have to say, and we have good amount of other speakers who will be talking about it, their presentations. Any questions or any of your queries, you can reach me. Thank you.